Hey Humans, today we're at Love's Cafe and I'm going to introduce you to a Human of Weston supermare. Just before we go, quick announcement, we're now filming OVS. We've got a new member of the team to edit and help direct some short clips and documentaries. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Shaun.
Hello.
Shaun, you want to start talking about yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name's Shaun Underhay. I've lived in Weston-super-Mare for most of my life, although I've spent some time in Bristol, in a couple of parts in Bath. Went to boarding sixth form college in Frome for a couple of years. Went to college in Trowbridge and Chippenham. Also went to school in Nailsea for a couple of years, and I lived in Walsall and Wolverhampton when I was at university there. So I've been around, but Weston is my home for the most part. Wirral, Weston area.
What do you like about Weston?
I like the fact that it's a very inclusive place. You know, there's lots of different kinds of people. I've got lots of friends who are all very different kinds of people, and I feel like it's a very sort of place where people do support each other and look out for each other.
Yeah, we look out for you, Shaun. One thing we invited you here today to talk about a topic that's close to your heart. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown?
Well, I refer to myself as autistic, or a member of the autistic community. It's actually called Aspergers syndrome. Most people who know me know that I have it because I'm very open about it. It's caused a lot of difficulty in my life in many ways, but I don't change it because it makes me what I am.
Okay. Can you give us a little bit about what does it mean to have what is it?
Well, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of parts to it. I mean, Asperger's specifically isn't often the issue for myself. It's a lot of speaking from a broader perspective rather than just my own personal experiences. There's lots of things that I've experienced myself, of course, such as social isolation, bullying, very high level in most people with mental health problems like anxiety, depression and things like that.
Is that because people don't understand what
for
it's
the
like
most,
to be you?
For the most part, yeah, I would say that's the main reason.
Okay, that's cool. So let's talk more about you again. What did you like to do with your time? Tell us a bit about Shaun.
Well, I have some fairly normal interests, really, like football, music, rugby. I'm into most of the normal things. That's probably where I make a lot of friends from, because I met a lot of my friends who I have in Weston now in the music groups, like the bands, the gigs, the open mic, the karaoke, the nightlife.
Cool. You have a big passion for the Eurovision.
I must admit, and
Go on, thank you.
I'm very open about it, even though perhaps it's not something most people admit to. I'm a very big fan of Eurovision. I've loved it since I was 7. Delighted that the UK is bringing back its national final in 6 weeks, and I'm going to watch Malta's semi-final in fact, I'm going tomorrow. The semi-finals on Friday. So
we're really excited for you.
Thank you.
Excited.
Really excited. Thank you.
You're going on your own and you're staying with friends?
I'm staying at a hotel, but I'm meeting some friends there.
Cool.
So I'm going to be seeing a lot of people and doing a lot of stuff. I went for the first time to Malta last year. It wasn't a Eurovision related trip. A year ago. I just wanted to go since I was about 15. So I think my parents went on holiday there when I was a kid, and I was at boarding school at the time, so I didn't go with them, and they told me about it and showed me the pictures, and I thought, I've got to see this place for myself.
And you did.
I'm very glad I finally did it, because I've wanted to for a long time. So.
Talking about your parents, I believe you dropped me in a conversation before, your grandmother as well. She was a face. If you want to talk about that, was it your grandmother that was a writer?
My grandmother, or Nan as she made us refer to her, was Jean Saunders by name. She went under the names Jean Innes and Rowena Summers and Sally Blake, and that would probably give away the fact that she was an author.
It would.
She actually, unfortunately, left us 4.5 years ago now, and it wasn't until 6 months after she passed, which is February 2012, which would have been her 80th birthday. I put up a status on Facebook to say happy 80th birthday, I wish you were still here to celebrate it with us. And one of my old university friends, put a comment saying, linking her to her Wikipedia page, and I knew her for 25 years, how old I was when she died, and I never actually knew she was famous enough to be on Wikipedia.
That's cool, a little bit of claim to fame there, my friend. Good job.
possibly my biggest claim to fame out of that is that at a house party in 2006 to celebrate her 100th publication,
Wow.
she actually joked. What's her name?
I'm terrible with words.
Jackie Collins. That's
Okay.
her. Was there to celebrate. So I met her at my grandma's house.
Oh, that's really nice.
It's probably one of my claims to fame.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Apart from being on Humans of Weston.
Apart from that, of
Funny.
course.
Yeah, apart from funny. Okay, so I want to take you back actually, take you to the first topic that we spoke about.
Yes.
Big community in Weston, so there's a lot of support for people with Aspergers.
Aspergers, yeah.
Yeah, I want to say it correctly as well. So,
RG.
okay, thank you. Could you tell me a little bit about the support networks in Weston are?
Well, there are social groups that meet monthly there in Bath and Bristol, and actually in Weston. I think there's one in Minehead as well, but they're don't know about Minehead actually. I don't think it's still running.
Okay.
And I'm actually trying to set one up with a community project with one of my friends that I'm doing called Spectrum Dating and Friendship. The name Spectrum comes from the autistic spectrum.
I really like it.
Thank you. It's inclusive, so it would include people with other difficulties, not necessarily just or specifically Asperger's or autism.
Yeah.
But it's
We'll support you in that. We'll jump
Thank
on
you.
board wherever we can.
that hopefully will be a monthly thing in Weston soon. But that will as and when that happens, that will. Yeah. If we're talking about my Asperger's specifically, the main problems I had, I suppose, as with most people like myself,
Yeah.
they start getting to their worst when you hit puberty. I mean, that's often when a lot of people hit their most difficult phase in their life is when they hit puberty. So we're talking around 12 to 13, that sort of age. I mean, growing up was a struggle for anyone. I realised that. But for myself, it was obviously the identity, the bullying, the fact of not being understood, having to change schools, being in one school that was academically challenging me but socially was enough of a struggle, and then going to the opposite, academically being too good but socially
Yeah, because you're smart. I remember
Not
you
me.
listed all the countries somewhere. I'm really impressed with that sort of thing. I want to talk about also your parents. When were you diagnosed with
Asperger's.
Yeah, where were you?
Officially, I think 12, but I think I kind of knew about it when I was 9, because
Yeah?
my parents told me when I was 9.
Okay.
They gave me a loose diagnosis of autistic traits, I think, when I was 5 or 6. I was told about it when I was 9. I remember it very well. I remember it well. I was just playing upstairs in my room with some school friends at the time, and she came in and showed me about it.
And did you always know from then you were different to other people?
I did, but it didn't really. I think as a younger kid, you're going to use it more as a crutch. I mean, adults use their disabilities as crutches a lot.
Okay.
You know, people do that, but they'll use anything as a crutch if they can, rightly or wrongly. But for myself, it didn't really become an issue until I was about 13, because then people it wasn't so much me. I don't think people. I mean, they say about kids being cruel at that age. I don't think it was because they knew I had a difficulty. They didn't, they didn't have a problem with that specifically. I think it was just how it affected me emotionally and behaviour and stuff like that, because I didn't so much relate to people as easily, and I didn't, I didn't necessarily behave the same as everyone else all the time as well. So.
It's part of what makes you today, though. It makes you an all-rounded person that you are.
Yeah, I suppose my experiences have given me more of an insight into different kinds of people than probably most people have.
It's lucky to have. It's lucky to have.
The other thing I'd quite like to talk about is my volunteering.
Love to hear about it. So
My volunteering is very much a big part of who I am. I've been doing it. I've just started some new voluntary work. I'm nearly 30 now. I started volunteering when I was 21. I think I wanted something to do during the summer.
yeah.
I went back to college when I took a couple of years out from 18 to 20. Tried to find jobs, lived with some friends in Bristol at the time. Lived a bit of a very wild lifestyle, like a student lifestyle, but except no studying, which at least people living the student lifestyle do some studying as well. I was doing everything but studying. Anywho,
Okay. Anyhow.
as a
Volunteering.
so when I was 20, I went back to Weston College and did the music. That was kind of when it all started for me, because I then discovered it was as a result of doing the music course at college, which I always wanted to do but never thought I could, because I thought we had to play an instrument. I just sing, I don't actually play a guitar or
and
keyboard.
sing very well, you do.
Thank you very much. I wanted something to do during, I suppose, that year of my life when I was, those 2 years of life between the age of 20 and 22.
Yeah.
At 20 I went back to college and I did the music course. From there I met all the other musicians in Weston. I would not have met you because I met you in a pub that day, so it was as a result of that. It's now 10 years ago, which is quite, nearly 10 years ago, which is quite surprising. Which does make me, which does quite, in a good way, kind of a sobering thought in a good way. But I think now I wouldn't have met the people I did had I not gone back to college and became involved in the music scene in Weston. It was through that also that I ended up forming my band. I went to university for 2 years, which meant the band had to wait a couple of years, but I formed a band which I'm still in to this day, although we're not as active as we used to be, with my best friend Jamie.
Okay, cool.
And with one of my other best friends, who's the bass player, Philip.
Nice.
Jamie knew a drummer who's a bit more experienced than we are, who used his knowledge and contact to help us. We none of us had been in a band before, so he kind of gave us a bit of a leg up, a helping hand, which we still remain grateful for.
Okay. What's your band called?
We're called the Neuros.
Neuros. Okay, cool. We'll check that out. You got a page and stuff?
Thanks. Yeah, we're on Facebook. If you just search the Neuros, N for Nigel, and Euros.
Oh yeah, that's clever. It's really clever.
I think the name came from, because in the original lineup there was 3 other members, different from what's in it now. We all had either Aspergers or one of us was OCD and dyslexic.
Okay.
So we thought neurobiological. Someone who are there's the term for people, the term that people with Aspergers use for people who aren't on the autistic spectrum is neurotypicals. So we call ourselves the Neuros to say we've all got something different in our brains. Also the fact that I liked something which wasn't taken, like we could call ourselves the Plastic Elephants, for example. Just made that up on the spot.
Yeah, well done.
And a band in America or Australia is going to turn around and say, "Oi, we're called the Plastic Elephants, get off."
I see.
So something that's totally original, no one's going to have that. It's like almost a made up word. But, sorry, going back to the volunteering, I was on my break between about May and September from my first year of college at 21, and I volunteered at a charity shop. I won't say which one because unfortunately it didn't work out very well. But I didn't give up. I'd had a couple of paid jobs before then. For one reason or another, they hadn't lasted as long as I hoped they would.
Okay.
I think my Asperger's probably did play a part in why it didn't last as long as it could have.
Okay.
But I will also say that I've done lots of different voluntary work. I've got experience of, people are quick to stick their nose up at voluntary work because you don't get any money for it. What you do get is a great sense of purpose, you meet great people, you do have fun, and you get references, you get experience, so there's always benefits to it. And unlike a paid job where you've got to fill in the application form, make loads of phone calls, send loads of emails, travel to the interview, put on a best suit, you get the informal interview for voluntary work, but apart from that, none of the above. You really have to go through, or most positions in companies anyway, won't expect you to do like a formal interview. And you can do, I've done loads of things. I've worked in shops, I've worked in warehouses, a lot of the band stuff I've done has been for free as well. So I've done loads of different things really for my voluntary work. I've worked with older people, younger people, worked for loads of different companies, worked at a radio station when I was at university.
That is a really cool fact.
It was the best year of my life doing that.
Yeah.
It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, volunteering definitely does have its benefits. I've recently started working with a healthy living centre, which you're from that area, I believe, so you know it quite well.
I know of that.
The Healthy Living Centre in the Bourneville Estate, they do a lunch club and a walking group, and they have a shop and a kitchen, and I'm helping out with. I've only just started doing it, so I'm still kind of developing it, but I should be doing regularly within the next couple of months. Be doing regular, and the buddying with Voluntary Action North Somerset, who you get assigned. You have to do your training and DBS check, obviously, and then you get assigned to a person who might possibly could be anyone with mental health or a learning difficulty or ex-offenders or recovery. they just want someone to meet them like in town and do an activity, like go for a drink or something.
It's a really nice thing.
It don't really feel like work, but it kind of is because it's a responsibility. Kind of, they're not very active, so they want someone who's gonna keep them active and give them some routine. So,
what's next for you then? So we'll call it to an end now. But what's next for Mr. Shaun Underhay? Mr. Shaun Underhay. What's next? What have you got next?
Well, I think continue with the voluntary work.
Yeah. It's always good. It's always good.
I'm trying to get a solo project, my 80s bit, just singing 80s songs.
That's cool. We support you.
Thank you. Hopefully my band will have some more gigs in the future.
We look forward to that.
We're on a bit of a break at the moment, but hopefully the voluntary work will continue, and in the future I'll get a paid job.
Cool.
So.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, and obviously going to Malta on holiday in a couple of days, which will be good.
It shall be.
That's pretty much my my plans for the future. But
well, thank you for sharing yourself with the Humans of Weston today. We're going to get this edited and get it out there. Thank you, Shaun. It's been a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, lovely.
Cool.
Thank you.
That's all we got. That's all we got. Cheers. Cheers, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.